Okay. Yeah, maybe in a minute. Good afternoon, everyone, from Frisco, Texas, as we are going to get started with our first press conference leading into the 2022 FCS Championship game. We'll have North Dakota State first. That'll start in about 3 minutes with their head coach, Matt Entz. Just a couple reminders. You will be able to ask questions. What we would like everybody to do is if you have a question for our coach, please use the raise your hand feature, and I will call on you. And then once we turn your mic on, we would like you to please give your name and your affiliation before your question. Once you ask your question, I'll go ahead and I will remute your microphone at that time. So once again, we will get started here in about 2 minutes with our very first pre-championship game press conference with North Dakota State head coach Matt Entz. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and we welcome you to Frisco, Texas, in the Toyota Stadium for the 2022 FCS Football Championship pre-championship press conferences. My name is Jim Powers with the NCAA, and I'll be your moderator for our press conferences today. Once again, if you are joining us virtually, We thank you for being patient while we pivot and make sure our coaches are accessible in a lot of different forms. But we also are asking that if you have a question, please use the raise your hand feature, and I will call on you. Once we call on you, we'll turn your mic on, and then we ask you to please give your name and affiliation, and then ask your question. Once your question's done, we'll go ahead and we'll mute your microphone once again. So we are going to get started here, and it's my honor to welcome North Dakota State head coach Matt Entz with us. And, Coach, congratulations on a terrific season. We'll let you open things up with some opening remarks on your return to Frisco.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Really excited to be here. We're really excited to be back in the Frisco, Texas area. A lot of great memories have been created here. Our team is very appreciative of everything that the community of Frisco, the organizers of this game, the NCAA, have done to make this a seamless trip and one that our players will remember for a long time to come. Playing a very good football team, Montana State. The minute we turned on the film, they got our kids' attention. They got our kids' respect right away. We've played them a few times in the playoffs in previous years. We know they're very talented. We know they play hard. They want to run the football. They want to play great defense, very similar to ourselves. And it's going to be a challenging day for the Bison, and we need to be at our best for us to have any sort of success. We're as healthy as we're going to be right now. We're really looking forward to having everyone. I know our last game, the semifinal game, we were short a couple offensive linemen. Both of them will be back. Christian Watson, we anticipate, will be playing for us tomorrow. And looking forward to that. But having all those people back doesn't mean anything if you can't execute and be efficient with the football and play well. And that's our number one objective. And had a great walkthrough this morning. We have another little team activity / practice this afternoon. And we're getting excited. We're getting real excited about getting to tomorrow and look forward to it. With that, I'll open it up with some questions.
Absolutely. We'll open it up for questions. Once again, if you do have a question, we ask you to use the raise your hand feature, and we'll start off with Eric Peterson. Eric, your mic is hot. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Another injury front is a guy like Dominic Ganella. Do you anticipate him being ready? And then if Christian Watson is available or does play, what does he add back to the offense?
Dom Ganella will be dressed tomorrow. Had that ankle injury late in the season, so he does add a little bit of depth to the running back room. Well, I think, both offensively and special teams, Christian's going to add a huge – he's a dynamic player. He's one of the best receivers in mid-major football. He's going to give us a deep threat. He's going to be able to get in and out of breaks. Special teams-wise, he'll be back there returning kicks as well. I think we got to find ways to be creative, get the ball in his hands, because he does have game-breaking speed. He has the ability to generate those explosive plays that you want to have offensively.
We'll next go to Ross Uglum. Ross, your microphone is hot. Go ahead.
Coach, you mentioned that these guys garnered your players' respect kind of instantaneously. The last two times North Dakota State's taken on Montana State in the playoffs, there have been pretty significant margin of victories, for NDSU. What is Montana State doing better that you guys have seen on film? Where have they improved to get to this point?
The first thing that jumps out at me, Ross, is defensively. I think they're playing at a different level. A lot of familiar names. You can see a lot of development, a lot of growth has happened since then. I think what they're doing defensively, a lot of single high, 8-man spacing, one back, one gap type of fits, but very sound in their fundamentals and schematically what they're trying to accomplish. They create takeaways. They get the ball back to their offense. Offensively, they're doing a great job, especially with the addition of the quarterback run game and a lot of the gap scheme out of it. They're going to force you to have to maybe water down some calls, but you have to be really precise in some of your run fits and from a defensive standpoint to be able to get them off the field. And it's going to be a challenge on both sides of the ball. They got really good players. Brent's done an unbelievable job coaching this group up, and he's done an outstanding job getting them to believe in maybe some new things that they're trying to accomplish, and they're seeing the benefits of it.
Next, we'll go to Jeff Kolpak. Jeff, your microphone is hot. Go ahead. Jeff Kolpak, you can go ahead. You can ask your question.
Hey, Matt, is that alum thing going on this afternoon? And if so, how important is that for your players?
It is this afternoon. We are going to have a number of former players and alumni that will be with us at practice today. It's become a tradition, something that I know our alum really look forward to because we have the opportunity for a couple of them to address our team. But a couple of our current seniors will address the alum too. I go back to 2019. Terry Hansen spoke, became emotional, and a guy like Dom Jones, who's from Atlanta, Georgia, walked up to me afterwards and goes, "Coach, I get it. I see why this place is different." And so it's experiences, it's the messages that these guys have, who some of them played back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, to our recent players will be there. I think it says a lot about Bison Nation, and it re-energizes the Bison pride that our kids feel.
Our next question's from Devin Fry. Devin, your microphone is hot. Go ahead.
Coach, it's well documented the support you guys have down here in Frisco. What's it like for you being able to come back down here and see the support that you guys get in this community?
Well, it's there's times it's hard to believe. The amount of green and yellow that is everywhere. Just the volume of people that you see in and out of the hotels, the drive over here, the logos, the people throwing horns up. It's why we say we have the greatest fan base in the country, and it's a great example of why that is an accurate statement. And to be back here is super special. It's something you can never take for granted. I think it's something that's part of our program. We seldom talk about this being the ultimate goal, but when we do get here, our kids appreciate it, our staff appreciates it, and I hope our fans appreciate the hard work and effort and energy that our kids have put into this season.
Our next question comes from Dominic Izzo. Dominic, your microphone is hot. Go ahead.
Matt, I'm curious about just this whole year, 2021. This will be your 24th football game you're playing tomorrow. Just to encapsulate what the last 12 months have been like.
Well, you're exactly right. I think today's the 7th. I want to say on January 4th, we officially have been practicing football for a year. You can say what you want about the summer months, but you guys have been around our program enough to know that our summer is pretty highly organized, a lot of energy, a lot of development goes into it. So very little amount of time off for our players. We made some adjustments in the spring to try to make sure that we were going to protect the fall. I think I wouldn't change any of the things that we did or how it worked out. I think this was for the betterment of the program, the way we did it. It's going to give us legs moving forward as well. But kudos to our staff, our medical personnel, and especially to our players for handling this. When you have to test, we had our last test Wednesday before practice in Fargo, and if you're a senior and you still had a test, you're putting everything. Your career is coming down to a test if you get a go or not. And it created some stressful situations. It created some probably heated situations within our program. But again, our players handled it very maturely and professionally along the way.
Once again, if you're just joining us, if you'd like to ask a question to North Dakota State head coach Matt Entz, please use the raise your hand feature, and we will call on you when it's your turn in the rotation. We'll go back to Ross Uglum. Ross, your microphone is hot. Go ahead.
Coach, people kind of, I guess, described your game against ETSU as kind of a look in the mirror because you're going to get a chance to defend some under center stuff, some stuff that you guys run. How much common game plan is there between you and Montana State? Obviously, Coach Vigen having been the offensive coordinator here, Coach Banks having played here. How much North Dakota State is there at Montana State?
From a schematic standpoint, there's a little bit quarterback run game wise. I think that's an area that's probably grown quite a bit since Coach Vigen was at NDSU. I know when Brock was the quarterback here, they got into some of that, but I think we've kind of expanded upon that. But you do see some similarities there, trying to utilize the quarterback as an extra player. From a defensive standpoint, I think the things that being a defensive guy myself, that I really appreciate is how hard they play, getting to the football, as a team, understanding perimeter fits. They're a big cover 3 team, single high, play a little bit of man coverage, some internal pressures. But what I see from Coach Banks is we're going to have built-in adjustments in very few calls, but we're going to play really well, really hard. And I think that has been a system or a manner in which they can get through the big sky and play really good and be very effective. So I think it's more the intangibles that you see that are similar, the way their kids play, the energy that they play with, how they execute. They're very detailed. They're very disciplined. And that's what's going to make it a very challenging game for us.
Next, we'll go back to Jeff Kolpak. Jeff, your microphone is hot. Go ahead and ask your question, please.
Matt, you were a longtime assistant before becoming a head coach for the first time. Describe what Brent Vigen's done doing the same route.
It's kudos to him. It's much more difficult than I think people think. All of a sudden, like you said, you're a lifelong assistant. You're kind of looking at things through maybe different colored glasses, and now to be the guy in the front of the room trying to lead your players, your staff, and sell the vision every day, there is a different set of demands. Hopefully he's found time where he can still continue to coach, because that's the one thing, that's the big reason why we all got into this profession. And unfortunately, with what we've had to deal with over the course of the last year and a half, sometimes that's the last thing that you get to do as a head football coach. And that would be my only suggestion I'd have for anyone. And I'm sure Brent and I will catch up tomorrow, but hopefully he's had the opportunity to keep coaching the kids on the grass at different times.
Our next question will come from Eric Peterson. Eric, your microphone is hot. Go ahead.
Coach, you mentioned about the testing before you took off. Has there been anything different on the ground in Frisco from previous years with the pandemic stuff, or has it seemed once you got there it's been pretty similar to the lead up?
Pretty similar to the lead up. We've had a few less events that have traditionally been on our schedule that we haven't had. So we've tried to do more just team only events, trying to keep our group together. And so that way we can kind of create our own little, I don't want to overuse the word bubble, but just keep our healthy kids around other healthy kids right now. That's the only adjustment. But we tried to, like I said, last night we rented out Top Golf, and we were the only people there. And so that was a chance for our kids to get away from the hotel, get away from football for a little bit. And I truly got to see how bad or how good some of our football athletes really are.
Our next question comes from Nick Cousins. Nick, your microphone is hot. Go ahead, please.
Hey, Coach, with all the quarterbacks that have played in this game for NDSU, how have you seen Cam kind of deal with this week and the winter camp overall?
He's been unbelievable. But he's a super mature kid. You have to remember, Cam has had a football probably in his hand his whole life. Coach Miller, very successful Iowa high school coach at Solon. Cam's been around. He's played in state championships. He's been in critical games. He's had, I'm sure, pressure put on him to be successful. He's approached this game like all of them. He's very preparation based, trying to understand everything he can about our game plan, dive into our opponent, making sure he sees rotations, all the things we'd ask him to do. In a week's time, he's now spread it out over 3 weeks, and I know he's super excited. And I anticipate he's probably heard from some of our former quarterbacks as well on how to handle this. And the thing we got to continue to talk to our kids is make sure, you're appreciating the moment as well. Don't take this for granted. This is an unbelievable opportunity that they've created.
Once again, if you're just joining us, if you'd like to ask a question for head coach from North Dakota State, Matt Entz, please use the raise your hand feature. We'll go back to Eric Peterson. Eric, go ahead. Your microphone's hot.
Coach, you talked about injuries and some players who are returning after long layoffs. What's the challenge of maybe deciding whether someone coming back is to provide depth or someone coming back is to kind of go into the role they had, prior to that injury?
Well, there's a lot of guys that they're just – and to be able to be back and help us, that means they've been practicing for a couple of weeks now. And so we have a pretty good grasp of how they can help us. Some are just adding some depth to some rooms or to some position groups. But, really, we felt like come the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday after the semifinals, we were in a much better position with guys like Nash Jensen, Jalen Sundell. I mean, to get both those guys back. I mean, still continue to make sure that but I think both of them are full speed, and get down Ganello back, add some depth to that room. I don't know if we're going to count on him to carry the ball 15, 20 times, but I know he can get in there, and he understands protection still. He understands our run game, so it's going to be an added bonus to have him. And then his name's going to be found on some special teams as well.
The queue is wide open. If there's anyone that has a question for Coach, please use the raise your hand feature. We'll give everybody a minute to see if there's any other questions. And we do have another question from Dominic Izzo. Dominic, your microphone is hot. Go ahead, please.
A funny question. Is Coach Vigen allowed for the alumni gathering today?
that would be kind of a unique situation. I'm sure Coach Vigen has a lot of other things that are on his plate right now. One, he's going to be on the mic here with you guys, so I'm sure he wants to. I'm sure he's going to balance his time and make sure he's doing everything for his team. But I know I anticipate him and I'll get a chance to catch up tomorrow.
Any other questions for head coach Matt Entz? Coach, final remarks before you get ready for championship day tomorrow.
Super excited that we're here, and thank you to everyone who's enabled us to get here. Most importantly, our players. Those guys have. There's been a lot of football over the course of the last year, but they've handled it the way you're supposed to. They've been very professional, very mature about it, and I couldn't be more excited to be the head coach at North Dakota State because of the young men that I get to work with every day.
Outstanding, Coach. Thank you very much for the time today. We greatly appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you, guys.
Head coach Matt Entz from North Dakota State. Our next interview will be with Montana State head coach Brent Vigen. That'll be at 2:30, so we're about 28 minutes away from that, and it'll be on the same link that you've all received. So we'll step aside for a few moments, and once again, we'll come back at 2:30 for Montana State head coach Brent Vigen. Thank you. And once again, we welcome everybody back. We will begin our second press conference here on Friday afternoon from Frisco, Texas, in advance of the 2022 FCS Championship with Montana State head coach Brent Vigen. We'll start in approximately 4 minutes. Once again, if you would like to ask a question for Coach, we ask you to use the raise your hand feature. And once I see that, I'll bring you on. I'll turn your mic on, ask your question, and then once you've asked your question, I'll go ahead and remute your microphones. So once again, we will get started with Montana State here in approximately 3.5 minutes. And a pleasant good afternoon from Frisco, Texas, and Toyota Stadium as we get you ready for the 2022 FCS Football Championship. That'll be held tomorrow. Once again, it's an 11 a.m. Central Time kickoff on ESPN2. And joining us now is the head coach at Montana State, Brent Vigen. And, Coach, first off, congratulations. Welcome to Frisco, and we'll let you open things up with some opening remarks.
For sure. Thanks. Can't say how much excitement this opportunity has brought to the state of Montana, Montana State University, Bobcat fans everywhere, in particular our team making the trip down here to Frisco. What a great host that Frisco has become. It's been a while since I've been here. It was January of 2014. It's changed a lot, but as far as that consistency and just being a great host of this championship, I can't say enough. We haven't played since December 18th, but we've really utilized the last 3 weeks to heal up, to prepare, and some of that was pre-Christmas. Some of it was obviously after Christmas back in Bozeman in the last couple of days here in Frisco. Feel like we have a team that's ready to take the field tomorrow against an incredibly formidable opponent in North Dakota State. It's going to be a game of two teams that play very similar styles, both offensively and defensively, value very much the same things when it comes to how you go about winning football games. And I obviously for our guys, we have to go out and play extremely well to come out on top against such a good opponent. But our guys are so excited to be here, like I said, and so ready to go for this opportunity. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Coach. And once again, if you're just joining us, if you'd like to ask Coach a question, please use the raise your hand feature. And once I call on you, I'll go ahead and unmute your mic, ask your question, and then we'll go ahead and remute your microphone and get ready for the next question. Let's open things up with Victor Flores. Victor, your microphone is now open. Please ask your question.
Hey, Coach. Just wanted to get your sense of the former players who have been in town and just and how your reaction to just meeting some of these former players and legends in Montana State history.
Well, it's a big deal. These opportunities to bring so many former players to one spot are rare. And when it was presented to different groups of guys, they rallied the troops, so to speak, and I don't know what the count was, but hundreds of guys out there, different eras, having a chance to meet our guys, spend some time with them, but then more than anything, just be around each other. It's an awesome deal, and I know that those guys are going to have a great time the rest of today and be as fired up for that game as anyone tomorrow. So we got a proud history here at Montana State, and to see so many legends, I think is what the word you use. I think that's very accurate here on that practice field this afternoon was a neat deal.
Next, we'll go to Eric Peterson. Eric, go ahead. Your microphone is open.
Hey, Coach. Earlier, Matt Entz said that Christian Watson is going to play on Saturday. If he's healthy, what does he add to that offense? And what's the challenge in game planning for a player like that?
Oh, he has a whole lot, not only in offense, but potentially in the return game as well. I don't know if there's a better talent, from a receiver perspective in the FCS this year. He's got great size. He's got tremendous speed, and once the ball's in his hands, he's really hard to bring down, and that that can come through the air. That can the ground game, they utilized him quite a bit there the last several years, and then the return game as well. So. Expected him to play. I'm certain Christian's a competitor, and he probably wanted to be on that field the last couple times out, but was pretty convinced that he'd be ready to go after this 3-week layoff. So we'll have to know exactly where he's at all times, and do everything we can to keep him in front of us, and when he gets the ball, tackle him.
Next, we'll go to Jeff Kolpak. Jeff, your microphone is open. Please ask your question.
Hey, Brent, how has it been different being a head coach, down in Frisco here as opposed to assistant? What's it been like?
Well, you're pulling different strings. I know that. And this trip down in particular with the uptick of COVID, that's probably worried me as much as anything. Just wanting to get to the game and doing everything we could, and worry about stuff like that more than what plays are going to be called. I think a lot about how you do things down here is how you plan for it. And, I had obviously a experience and a real good roadmap on how to spend our time down here. And I think our players and our coaches have followed that. But, yeah, you're just, you got that just a different view of things. And I don't know. I mean, it's still about going out and coaching that game tomorrow, and I'm really looking forward to that. I'm sure the emotions and everything will be a little bit different from that perspective. I haven't been on the field here, in my 3 trips before, so look forward to it.
Next, we'll go to Ashley Washburn. Ashley, your microphone's open. Please ask your question. Ashley, go ahead. Your microphone's open.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, there we go. We got you.
Sorry about that. Coach, we talked about earlier this week, those couple weeks off, using it as some time to just get healthy. I don't know if there's any update on some of the players we missed in that semifinal game, or is that going to still kind of be game time decision?
No, I think we've utilized the 3 weeks well. In particular, Ty Okada's, he's really been out there for the most part this whole stretch. Isaiah, Chase Benson have been out practicing. And what their capacity will ultimately be, I think we'll know once the game gets going. But the plan is that all three of those guys who didn't play in that semifinal will be on the field. So I think we're in that position where we could say we're as healthy as we've been since the start of the season. And I think it'll take as much of that as we need. I mean, that's the beauty of this 3-week layoff. I think both teams can put their best team out there possible.
Our next question comes from Colton Poole. Colton, your microphone's open. Please ask your question.
Hey, Brent, you mentioned COVID. I'm curious if you could expand a little bit more on that and just, I guess if you expect everyone to be available, I guess, for this game.
Yes, we do. But it's just it's worrisome because how exactly do you control it? And we had sent all our guys away for the holiday break, and that's kind of when things across the country, sped up a little bit. But we, our guys have followed a stricter regimen over the last couple weeks than we had in quite a while. And it wasn't a real tough ask, asking guys to wear masks more than we had in a long time, asking guys to space differently than we had in a long time. Wasn't too complicated when you know what's at the end of it. So our guys have done a really good job. Honestly, the travel Wednesday was probably the most complicating thing where you feel like you don't control it. But it appears that we made it through that, and we'll have a full squad ready to go tomorrow.
Once again, if you have a question for Coach, please use the raise your hand feature. The queue is open right now, so if you do have a question, now's the time to ask. And we'll go back to Victor Flores. Victor, your microphone is open. Please ask your question.
Just wanted to get your thoughts. I know Buck Buchanan hasn't been awarded yet, but Troy Anderson won the FCS ADA one. And just how has he kind of handled all of these, extra things on top of the game, these awards so far?
Well, I do think he's certainly proud of his accomplishments. I know, the week of the Sam Houston game, we went down to Las Vegas, and he was part of that Campbell Trophy presentation, scholar athlete deal, and that was a Tuesday. We didn't, I went down with them. His parents were able to go. Leon, we had a whole crew, Bill Garrett. So, we practiced in the morning, got down there, and I know it didn't faze him, but I think it's important that he's able to take all that in tonight. It's tonight's ceremony. He'll be at our meetings. He'll eat with the team. We'll do everything like we can, but he's about the team, though. I think the honor that he wants most is going to happen tomorrow, and I think he's very deserving of the Buchanan. Whether he gets it or not, we'll have to find out tonight. But I don't think for 1 second it affects his preparation, his play in the game. But at the same time, very well-deserved honors that you need to be a part of those opportunities as much as possible.
And we'll go to Eric Peterson next. Eric, your microphone's open. Please ask your question.
Hey, Coach, can you just describe just the influence of your father, Randy Vigen, and what's it like having him down there and kind of, as much as you can, experiencing this with him?
Yeah, I was fortunate to grow up in some ways on the football field, going to his practices, on the sideline for games. being a ball boy, being a statistician, whatever, and then, ultimately getting a chance to play for him. And I know him being a coach and me being around his teams would, without question, be my biggest influence in becoming a coach. And, through the years, no matter where I've been coaching, what my role has been, we've always had a chance to, talk probably on a weekly basis, not necessarily daily basis, but a weekly basis about how things are going, and advice has been always there. Support has always been always there. And, to have him down here along with a lot of Molly and I, a lot of our family is here in town, is special. These are opportunities to bring a family together, enjoy one another's company, and then obviously have them cheer on the Bobcats tomorrow. But it's his influence, hard to quantify, but it's pretty dang special.
Our next question comes from Sean Rainey. Sean, your microphone is open. Go ahead and ask your question.
Coach, obviously all this building up to tomorrow, what do you think the feeling will be like when you rest your head on the pillow tonight, and will sleep be difficult at all tonight?
Well, it's an early morning, so sleep better not be too complicated. That's a good question. I think when you don't sleep is when the preparation isn't complete. That's earlier, I think, sometimes, especially when you're talking about a regular game week. So I think our guys are prepared. I think our guys are locked in. So I think I'll sleep okay. I know that alarm's going to be early in the morning, and I know our guys. There's going to be a different sense of excitement around this atmosphere. Come 11 o'clock Central tomorrow than they've probably ever experienced. But that's going to go away pretty quickly, and it becomes about playing football. And we've tried to talk about that the whole time through, just kind of setting the stage for tomorrow. So I'll do the best I can to get sleep tonight. I'm sure guys will, and we're really looking forward to tomorrow, though. It's going to be awesome.
Once again, if you'd like to ask Coach a question, please use the raise your hand feature. And we'll see if anyone else has any other questions for Coach. And we do have one more from Sean Rainey. Sean, your microphone is open. Please ask your question.
Yeah, Coach. Sometimes in a lot of these big games, some players have said there's so much kind of hype leading up to it, and during pregame warm-ups and stuff, that they almost get a little exhausted a few plays into the game or into the first quarter because there's just so much emotion. I guess, what's the message to the team as far as handling that aspect of it?
Yeah, much like I just said, I think try to prepare them for that, but at the same time, you want them to enjoy, those sensations, I guess, those feelings, because that's, in life, opportunities like our guys are going to get tomorrow, they certainly don't happen every day, and to be a part of this championship, to be a member of this team is something these guys are going to remember for the rest of their lives. So take a few deep breaths along the way. Know that we still have just a football game to play. I think that's, as simple as I can put it. The emotion is going to have you revved up through warm-ups and early on, but that goes away really fast. So we just got to keep coming back to what we have to accomplish, and play out against an opponent like North Dakota State. That's a tall task, So I think we've tried to do our best to explain that to our guys, and it's got to live out starting at 11 o'clock tomorrow.
Any other questions for Coach? Coach, final thoughts, final message for the great fans back in Bozeman before we get ready to go tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm sure there's thousands and thousands of you down, Montanans, Bobcat fans from everywhere down here in Frisco, but for the tens of thousands that are back in the great state of Montana and across this country, this team is playing for you, and we're looking forward to just put our best effort. The support we've had throughout this run, throughout the regular season, has really been uplifting to our team. In particular, that setting, on December 18th back in Bozeman for that semifinal game. So, whether you're watching on TV, you're in the stadium here, scream as loud as you can, as long as you can tomorrow, and we'll give everything we have. So thanks a lot, and go Cats.
Coach, thank you very much for your time. We greatly appreciate it, and good luck tomorrow.
All right, thanks a lot.
Head coach Brent Vigen from Montana State joins us, and that'll wrap up our pre-championship press conferences with our two coaches. Once again, game time tomorrow is an 11 o'clock Central Time kick. It will be on ESPN2. Also, radio-wise, it will be on Westwood 1. We want to thank you so much for joining us here this afternoon, and we will see everybody tomorrow here live from Frisco, Texas. Thank you.